an AppleVis original.
Hi there, and welcome to AppleVis Extra. This is episode number 93. My name is Dave Nason. So for the past few months, something that's been huge in the news is OpenAI and ChatGPT and all this AI development that's happening. And a part of that news within our own community has been an announcement from Be My Eyes that they are developing a virtual volunteer using this technology, which is really, really exciting and really, really interesting. So today I am delighted to be joined by Hans-Jürgen Wiberg and Mike Buckley of Be My Eyes. Hans is a founder of the company Be My Eyes and Mike is the CEO. So it's great to get these guys in for a chat about what Be My Eyes is, its history, and very much its future in this virtual volunteer space. So without further ado, let's jump into the conversation. Okay, so let's jump in. Hans and Mike, it's great to have you here. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
How are you guys today?
Hans, I didn't want to jump on you, but I'm great, David. I'm looking forward to this conversation, and I think every day Hans and I look forward to getting up in the morning to kind of play with this product and figure out more ways we can use it, you know?
That's right. And today is Monday, and I love to start my Mondays like this, so that's wonderful. Absolutely.
Great stuff. Hans, I think I was looking back and it looks like the last time we had yourselves on, and I think it was you, Hans, was back in 2015. So that shows Be My Eyes has been around a long time. Do you want to tell us, before we get into the virtual volunteer and all the new stuff that's going on, a bit about the history of Be My Eyes, when you founded it, why, what it was all about?
Well, I'm happy to do that. Yes, I'm visually impaired myself. I think that's a big part of it. And I was working for the Danish Blind Federation, and I, of course, met a lot of other blind and low vision people. And the iPhone was just coming around. This was back in 2012. And one of my friends was using FaceTime when he needed to see something, and there was no other around. And then at some point he said, "But I always have to call someone." And I was thinking, well, we can make a group you can call. It can't be that difficult. I'm not a tech guy at all, as you can hear. And I had no clue how to make an app or anything. But I was kind of intrigued by this idea. So somehow, it's a long story. But I did manage to get a group around this idea. And we started to raise the money, and we started to build the prototype. And then in 2015, we were able to actually launch the first version of Be My Eyes, and we were completely blown away by the interest, both from the volunteers, but and more importantly, also from blind and low vision people. So within a very few days, we had more than 1,000 blind and low vision people signed up and 10,000 volunteers. And within a week, we had 100,000 and 10,000 blind people. So we were not at all prepared for this. So it was a very amazing start that we got there. And ever since, it has evolved. And I think we are very close to having onboarded 500,000 blind and low vision people across the globe, and 6.5 million volunteers, which is pretty amazing when you think about it. We have never spent any money on marketing. So it is people telling about it on Facebook and in the community. And that's what I'm super, super proud about, that we have been able to spread truly globally. I think it's only in a few countries where we are not operating. Otherwise, you can use Be My Eyes in every country and basically in every language. I know this is not true, but we can provide help in almost 200 languages. I know there's thousands when you go into all the dialects and so on, but still, I think we cover 99% of the people in this world with the language that we do have. So that's kind of the short version.
That's incredible. And yeah, the best ideas come from that, I would think, isn't it? Like, you just discovered a problem and light bulb moment. And next
Yeah,
thing-
exactly.
And for the uninitiated, what exactly is that core offering? It is simply a video call, that a blind or visually impaired
Yes.
person can do.
Yeah, maybe we should explain that. It's a super simple concept where you, as a blind person, you have this app on your phone, and then let's say you are in your kitchen and you have this can of something, and then you take the phone out and you press the button, and we will send out a notification to 20, I believe, volunteers, because we don't know what they are doing. And the first volunteer to say yes, then we make a live video connection between the blind person and the volunteer. And the volunteer will be looking through your phone, the back facing camera, and you simply point the phone at whatever you need the volunteer to see. And that's it. And we have many calls that are actually in the kitchen, and maybe they last for 15 seconds. Have I set my oven to 300 degrees? Yes, you have. Okay, thank you so much. And that's it. And that's exactly what you need as a blind person in that situation. It can also be longer, and it can be very long calls as well. But most of the calls are like 3 minutes or something like that. Yeah.
It is an incredible range of things that you can use it for. Like, I've used it many times for things like that in the kitchen, but I also used it when my hat blew off and I was walking up the street and I couldn't find my hat.
Did you manage to find it?
I did.
Okay, great.
And I had one a few weeks ago. I knocked one of my earbuds out of my ear, which is a tricky situation, and it had rolled off a little bit. And the volunteer was fantastic, and she was very, very patient. And we eventually tracked it down.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Mike, how about yourself? When did you come on board, and what's your own role?
Well, I was an investor in Be My Eyes starting in 2018, and I joined the board. And Hans is a very humble person, but the dent that he's made on the world with this service and this application is pretty enormous when you think about it. And I was always enamored with the fact that what he did was he merged technology and human kindness to solve a problem. And it works beautifully. 90% of the calls are successful. It's not higher because there are often telecom issues or technology issues. Most of the calls average 3 minutes in length. But as Hans said, some of them are longer. I read a woman 5 or 6 holiday cards and described the pictures on them from her various family members around the holiday season this year. And that was one of my favorite calls I've ever had. And so I was really just intrigued by not only the technological linkage with kindness, but also the opportunity to potentially build a business around this product and ensure that the products and services remain free for people who are blind and low vision globally. So I'm incredibly thankful to Hans for giving me a fun place to play every day.
That does actually lead into an interesting piece, because this is completely free to use to the blind or low vision user at the end of the day.
It's true.
And the reason is basically on the very first weekend when I got my team together the first time, we decided that it should be free because we looked at the numbers. And we could see that 90% of the blind people in this world, they live in India and Africa and China. Of course, some of those people will be able to pay, but most of those people might get a smartphone and maybe they get access to the neighbor's Wi-Fi or something like that. But we cannot charge them $10 a month or anything. So we simply decided that the site should be free. Also because it's volunteers who are actually doing the work. And that has, and I'm really, really proud that we have been able to maintain that. And Mike can tell you how we do it. But it is a core value within Be My Eyes that this service should be free. And hopefully also the other service that we will add on over time. So.
The other thing that Hans and others have educated me on, David, and you probably know this, is even outside of China, India, or Africa, you just take North America, and 70% of people who are blind and low vision are either underemployed or unemployed. And so, I think that there's enough economic and other stress on people who are blind or low vision without sort of trying to charge them for basic human necessities, right? And so, look, you never say never, right? I mean, we're never going to say 100 years from now we're guaranteeing freedom, but we will do everything in our power to continue to make sure these services are free for the community.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great to hear. And actually, it's funny, when you talk about the numbers using it, anytime I tell sighted friends and family about Be My Eyes, one of the first things they do is go, how do I join up as a volunteer? And then they come to me a few months later and go, I haven't got any calls yet. Why?
It's an issue because we do have this imbalance in the community, right? Between roughly 500,000 people who are blind and low vision and an astonishing 6.5 million volunteers, which we're pretty sure is the largest digital volunteer organization in the world. But you're right, David. It's if you look at the data, when you talk to the volunteers after they've made a call, they talk about it as the best day of their week, right? And it's awesome. And so but we're doing more to try to route more calls and increase volumes there, and to take care of the volunteer community as well as the blind community.
And I think us on the blind community side, it's like encouraging people to use the service, because it's very, you can feel nervous maybe about calling someone you don't know. And it's actually just, I think once you start using the service, you realize, oh no, this is fantastic. But making that first call, maybe there might be people who have the app but haven't actually used it yet.
It's such an important observation, David, and your point is backed up by data. So we did a survey of our community, and there were 4 reasons. The top 4 reasons that they said, why they didn't make a call were, first was, I don't want to take a volunteer away from someone else who might need them more, right? Which speaks volumes about the humanity of our community, right?
Mm-hmm.
But and also that we need to do a better job of saying, no, we've got plenty of volunteers.
Yeah, that's right.
The second is there's some hesitancy about calling a stranger, right? Or even a paid agent. It's like, what we hear from people is, well, what if I haven't made my bed, or my house is messy, or maybe I just don't want another, a human being in my living room. And so that stranger piece is there. There's always some concern before we educate people about whether it's fully free of charge or available 24/7. And then the fourth reason that was most interesting, I think, to Hans and me was some people say, well, if I have to call a person, it makes me feel a little less independent, right? Which was an interesting learning for us. But so you're right. We have a continuous job of education to do, to say that this is free, safe, effective, right?
And actually, it can be nice to call the stranger sometimes on the other side, I would say to people, because you feel like you're bothering your family a lot sometimes. So to be able to actually do something independently or semi-independently, however you want to describe it, by getting help through somebody else can actually be a relief as well.
Yeah.
And then would you get into, I guess, Mike, this is probably where you came in as well, is around the specialized help. And, you're saying Be My Eyes it's a voluntary, it's free to use to the end user, but I'm sure it's not free to run. So there had to be some way of generating income, and I guess specialized help is a big part of that.
Exactly. And what specialized help is, for those that don't know, is we partner with companies' customer service centers to enable successful video calls, one-way video calls between blind and low vision and their customer service. So Microsoft, Google, Barilla Pasta, Procter & Gamble, Spotify, these are all companies that we work with who kind of pay us a yearly fee to help make their customer service center not only more accessible, but better connected to the blind and low vision community. And the product, it works well and it's successful, and we have a very high renewal rate, and we're growing well. And David, for any companies that might be listening to this, call us. We want to work with you.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is great. I mean, if you're having a bit of trouble with your computer or something, to be able to actually show the person that message on the screen that isn't reading with JAWS or whatever the case may be, or the lights on the broadband router that you can't see, those kinds of things.
One of the things that is pretty amazing is that when you are using Be My Eyes to make these calls, we can route them to those agents who know about being blind or what product we are using and so on. And those few agents, they get all the calls from Be My Eyes because it can be really, really frustrating for a normal agent, so to speak, to get these calls from blind people, and they don't really want that. But we have this dedicated small group of agents at like Microsoft and Google and so on, and they have gotten thousands of calls through Be My Eyes. So I mean, even before you call them, they know what you're going to ask them. And how to answer that question because they have done it many times, and that is also both for the companies, but also for us as blind and low vision people, a huge benefit.
Definitely, yeah. We've all probably been that customer who has called a company with a tech problem or whatever other issue it might be and trying to explain, no, but I can't see. And
yeah. A screen reader, what is that?
So getting through to people who understand is absolutely great. And yeah, it's great to see that that's growing. And I think you've other corporate tie-ins as well that people might be interested to know about.
Yeah, we have a really interesting product where we can enable a team or even an entire company to have a dedicated day or a dedicated 2-hour period, for example, where their employees can answer calls as volunteers. So we call it our corporate volunteering product, but it's a wonderful team building exercise. It's a lesson in accessibility, and the feedback we have from our corporate customers like Instacart, Salesforce, Oracle, you name it. We have a number of these customers. Is that it's a great bonding and learning session for these employees, and so it's a very fun product. Not only in terms of the fact that the people enjoy it, but in terms of educating, these companies on these issues, and so. That's an exciting product for us as well.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Because I think a lot companies more and more now are doing kind of corporate days, where corporate volunteering days and things like that as well. So to be able to tie into that kind of culture would be great.
Yeah, and it's connecting, with another human also, right? So there was a guy at Oracle who said, "Look, I took my team and we made sandwich bags for the homeless, and that was important to do, and we'll continue to do that, but." The power of the Be My Eyes corporate volunteering experience is it's human to human, right? It's connection. It's one-on-one for all of the team members. And so it was very meaningful for him.
And also some of the companies, they have their employees spread all over the country, and half of them is working from home and all that. But with this kind of volunteering, it doesn't matter where you are, and you can have some Slack channel running where people are sharing their experience and so on. And that's also what we have been seeing. And that's just an amazing experience for everybody to be watching.
Definitely, yeah. Sounds really cool. On the technology side, I suppose one of the areas I'm finding really interesting when it comes to these kinds of apps, depending on the scenario, sometimes I'm like, I wish I didn't have to hold my phone out as I walk down the street. Do you know that kind of thing? Are you guys looking at wearables at all, or being, having your software on wearables? I know it's still a bit of early days in that market, but
absolutely, David. Hans and I have talked about this a lot, and he and I both believe that the future is certainly going to be on a wearable device, right? And so I hope it's only 2 years, it may be 4 or 5 years, but our vision, and I think the vision for kind of the broader industry is a beautiful looking and operating wearable that serves as your kind of digital visual assistant for whenever you want it, right? Walking down the street, navigation, product identification, expiration dates, you name it. As you said, David, to keep your hands free. And so not only do we think that the market is going there, we're pushing in that direction. We have some early partnerships with Envision and Celeste. And there's a small company in Cupertino who I call every 2 months to say, if you're going to do something, we want to work with you. We think Apple will certainly be in this game at some point, and other large. And, we're going to be agnostic on which wearable, but our job is to make sure that we have unbelievably good software that can go on the wearable, an unbelievably good kind of user interface and experience, right? And then I think the third thing that we want to make sure we always offer to whether it's a wearable manufacturer or the community at large is the opportunity to roll over a call or roll over assistance to a volunteer human in case the technology is failing or not giving you what you want.
100%. Yeah. I think that's it's definitely an area that's going to grow in the next few years. So it'll be really interesting. At the moment, it's a bit price prohibitive for a lot of people, I think. But as always, these things become more affordable.
Yeah, we're with you. Hans always says until we can get this down to sort of a sub $500 price point, it's never going to have real adoption, right?
Yeah.
And so, but I think the market will go there.
And I think it's fair to say if it is not financially accessible, then it doesn't matter how accessible it is.
Yeah.
So that is something that we are really looking into. If we can, bring it down to a price point where a larger group can be part of it.
The other expansion technology-wise that sometimes pops into my mind when I'm trying to achieve something is if I could share my screen, whether that's on my laptop or on my phone. Is that sort of a whole different area to what Be My Eyes do, or is that something you've considered?
We would love to do that, but we also hesitate a little bit because it is a stranger that you are talking to. So we have to be a little careful about sharing the screen and giving volunteers option to do things on your phone and so on. So it's not a slam dunk to do that, but it is something that we would love to be able to do. Absolutely.
I was thinking maybe on the specialized help might be where it would be appropriate rather than
Exactly.
And we can do that via the specialized help technology. But David, also this is where the AI virtual volunteer could be incredibly powerful, right?
Yeah.
If I can show you my screen, even without sharing it, just through the AI, it can be useful from a diagnostic perspective in terms of solving problems.
Definitely. And that gets into exactly where I was going to go now, which is tell us about the virtual volunteer, please.
Well, I know that you've played with it, David, so I will try and limit my use of hyperbole or how great it is to hear what you have to say rather than what I have to say. But what it is an artificial intelligence that provides visual assistance pretty quickly and remarkably accurately over time. And so the user takes a photograph of anything and then can ask any question about what's in the picture. And what's different about this than the tools that are currently available on the market, many of which are great, by the way, and Microsoft is someone we work with a lot, and seeing AI is wonderful. But David, as I think you can share better than we can, the image recognition is just superior on this product. That's number one. Number two, there's an analytical layer that is just more powerful and deeper, right? You can identify not just a dog, but the breed of the dog, not just sunglasses, but the brand of sunglasses. And so it's a deeper contextual understanding. The one we talk about a lot is you can not only take a picture of your refrigerator and get told what's in it, but you can ask, what can I make for dinner based on those ingredients? And so the third thing is you can converse with it, right? You can ask more follow-up questions to kind of get the information that you need, which is a wonderful addition to kind of just technological proficiency here, right? And then the last one is that we provide an opportunity for the session with the virtual volunteer to roll over to an actual volunteer if you want to double check or if the technology is not, answering the question that you want it to. And so enough of me, spouting out about this, David. I know you've used the tool. I'd love to hear what your impressions are.
Yeah, I think, and bear in mind, I'm always aware it's still in beta, and already we've seen quite a lot of development, I think, in the several weeks that we've been in beta, and improvements. I think, on certain types of inquiries, it's incredible, like compared to something like Seeing AI or Lookout. And that's, again, not to put those tools down, but like you take a picture of a leaflet and they will do their best to kind of read the text on the leaflet, but somehow Be My Eyes sort of puts it into the right order, and it reads it kind of as a, I don't know if I'm explaining that well, but it kind of contextualizes it a little better. And it's the fact that you can ask those follow-up questions. I think that's key. So you take a photo, it might tell you that's a picture of a garden with a shed and a tree. Blah, blah. You can kind of then go back, okay, what color is the shed? Or how many people are in the photo? Or, you know what I mean? Ask those follow-up questions, I think, is the key part.
Yeah. Hans, do you want to tell the story about the couple and their bird?
Yeah. It was kind of an amazing thing because they couldn't get the bird back into the cage, and they were using this to find out where the bird were, and then they could actually go and get the bird, and that is kind of an amazing thing. Of course, the bird had not to move in the meantime, but apparently it didn't. So, but that is also, if you take a picture of something on a shelf, and then you can ask, okay, where is that exact item on the shelf, and they will say it's on the right corner or the second shelf from the top down or something like that. And you cannot do that with other ways to have pictures described, and you can ask details into okay, what kind of bottle is this, and can you describe the text, and does it look old or new, or all these kind of things that you can you have a specific interest into something, and then you can kind of guide the virtual volunteer to answer the question that you have about this.
Yeah, and I've used it really successfully in the home with things like the kitchen. And for example, like I could take a pizza box, like, you know, an oven pizza box. What kind of pizza is this? It might be what I get from the first picture. Then I can say, okay, how do I cook it? What is the nutritional information? And it giving me all that information, you know what I mean, in a very plain English. Or I used it on a leaflet that came in the door from a restaurant. Again, the initial picture tells me this is Restaurant X and their address maybe. But then again, I can say, okay, well, what's on the menu? And that gives me categories, and tell me more about the burgers, you know. And I was able to keep, it was like a conversation, really, really was, where I was kind of asking what I wanted to know. And you could even reverse back and go, okay, that's enough about the burgers, tell me about the pizzas. And it would tell me.
And it will stay polite. So
yeah.
It's kind of funny when you're using it, that it kind of tries to be very human, and says, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get that part, or something like that, and so that's kind of a funny side of it, that it kind of tries to be very human.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any other examples that have come in?
So the one that blew me away was we took a picture of a detailed map of the railway system in India. And then we just asked, you know, how do I get from Bangalore to Delhi? And it told us. It told us like what lines, you know, what specific train lines you had to take to get there. And, you know, when we witness something like that, it just makes you think that the potential here is nearly limitless, because of the ability to kind of not only quote unquote see the world, but interpret it, right? Yeah. And that layer of context and analytical understanding is just, it's potentially remarkable. You know, I'm very wary of the AI hype cycle right now, but we're so optimistic about the potential right now.
To what extent is it using the image, and to what extent does it, in certain cases, go off onto the web and find more information, or does it do that?
That's a very interesting question.
Yeah.
Because we do experience sometimes that it is making things up, and it kind of have a standard version of something, and then it kind of sticks to that, even if you ask it to describe something very specific. And there is some, you can turn up and down some, I don't know what it's called in English, but you can make it more or less, the heat, I think that they call it, and that's something that we are experimenting with, how colorful should it be, so to speak. And because it is kind of, I remember one of the examples I have been using a lot is the remote control. But that is actually a thing that it is really bad at, because it's apparently it has a very fixed picture of what a remote control is, and that's what it will tell you.
Yeah.
And then so that's kind of a strange one, because I would think it's pretty damn easy to kind of describe the buttons, but it seemed to be kind of fixated on the general type of a remote control. And that's one of the things that I would like us to, if we could kind of prompt it to kind of stay to the picture, so to speak.
Yeah, I had that remote. I tried it on my remote control, and it just even when I tried telling it this is a Sky Glass remote control, it still was like, no, there's no voice button there. And I was like, there is. I know there is.
Yeah, and that's kind of strange. But that is. I mean, we always have to remember that this is a computer, and it has its way of doing things, and we need to know that. And that's also why we have prompted it to, if there is doubt, then it will ask you to call a volunteer to make sure. And that's super, super important, especially in the beginning. Hopefully it will improve, so we don't need to do that all the time. But in the beginning, it's very important that you make that call to a volunteer if it is something that's important to you. So.
I think that you can envision a future and it's not very distant in the future though, where the tool will not only be able to access the entirety of the web, right? So just beyond the picture, but also, hey, where can I buy that shampoo, right? What's a price? And we think where this goes, not only on a wearable, is the image recognition will eventually go to real-time video recognition, will eventually go to helping you, shop for things, for example, and actually, purchase items. And so, the crux of your question is it mostly image-based now? And the answer is yes. And a lot of that is for kind of safety and test reasons. But long-term, we believe the entirety of the web and all the tools that you can utilize on the web will be able to be utilized within Virtual Volunteer as well.
Yeah. And I think even in the short term, we're learning as we're using it on what is it good at and what is it less confident at maybe. And it does even tell you I'm not fully confident on this. So like you say, and it encourages you to call a volunteer. And those are the things that I absolutely know I can trust. It gets this right every time, and it's great,
Yeah.
And actually, that brings up a question that I genuinely don't know. I haven't used a lot of the ChatGPT and all that kind of stuff. So to what extent is Be My Eyes doing something specific, if that makes sense, with this technology here, versus going to, say, the ChatGPT website?
Yeah,
another app?
Good question. There are four things. The first is that the visual recognition tool is not currently available on ChatGPT, right? So we're the only test partner currently for the visual product. So you can't get that on ChatGPT. I think the second thing is we're really trying to bring and to continuously design a user interface, right, that is intuitive, makes sense, is fun, obviously uses voiceover for our community. And so that user experience and interface, we think is going to be incredibly important. Yeah. I think the third thing that we bring is we understand, like few others, the use cases that are important to our community, right? If you think about the history of Be My Eyes, we have 4 million calls that have been made for volunteer assistance in the past. And so we have some good context about what are likely use cases and important use cases for the community. And that in turn is helping us work with OpenAI to train their models on those use cases and make the results stronger. And then the fourth thing, the final one that we bring, is obviously the ability to roll over the session to a human volunteer when the need presents itself.
Yeah, I think they're all crucial. And it's a great opportunity for us as a community, really, isn't it? That you say we're the first test partner, Be My Eyes is, for this image recognition, because obviously we want it to work well for our community and the power it potentially has for us.
It's Hans always says it's nice to see blind and low vision leading in the forefront on the development of this. So many people have told us, I'm sick and tired of people, thrusting technology upon me or doing something for me. No, don't do it for me. Do it with me, right? And so that's the importance of the beta test is, we have a very, very firm commitment that we're going to continue to develop and iterate on this product with people who are blind and low vision to make it better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, anyone who works with me knows I love my UX and my customer experience, my user experience. I think it's so important these days. So, having that within the app, I definitely do see the advantage. There's probably quite a lot of listeners already on the beta waitlist, and probably several more who are going to jump on the waitlist as soon as they've finished listening to this. So, do you have any indication of kind of how that beta program is moving along? It's kicked off. There's a limited beta has kicked off already, but people are probably wondering, when will they be able to get their hands on it if they're on the waitlist?
Good question. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to expand into hundreds. Again, it will still be a relatively limited beta. I think that we hope that general availability of this for the entirety of our community will happen in Q3 of this year. I would probably say later in Q3 rather than earlier. And the reason for that, David, is even though we're so excited and want to put this in people's hands quickly, we absolutely have to really test everything we can about safety and accuracy. Responsible deployment here is everything. And particularly for our community, we're always going to prioritize safety above everything else. And so I hope towards the end of Q3 we roll this out, but in the interim, we will be expanding into hundreds in the near future.
That's great to hear. Yeah, no, you're right. You have to do it sensibly ultimately. The other thing, that comes up sometimes, people around this technology, would be around privacy. Is there anything different here versus a volunteer? When you join Be My Eyes, even in the volunteer program, there's a terms and conditions that you accept around what you share on your camera. Is there anything different when it comes to virtual volunteer?
So in the short term, the data from these sessions is going to be shared with us and OpenAI to make the tool work better, right? It's really important for us to see failure or inaccuracy. And so that data will be shared in the short term. In the mid to long term, we envision that these sessions will remain completely private. And what excites us and gives us hope there is what OpenAI has done with the broader development community is they have already stated that the sharing of data from the development community on any of those sessions will be done on an opt-in basis only, right? So OpenAI is not going to force us or anybody else to share data from these sessions, which is really exciting. Now, we have to make a thoughtful strategic decision here, right? Because if we store data or share the data with OpenAI, it might make the tool work better for people, right? And so that's going to be a delicate balancing act. My belief is that in the midterm, though, these sessions will be kept completely private and the data won't be shared because the tool will improve rapidly. But the number one thing that we're committed to is absolute transparency there in terms of what we do or don't do with the data.
That's fair.
But it's very, if you are a beta tester, it's very important to know that these data and images will be processed and looked at and all that simply because we want to learn as much as we can in this beta testing period. But after that, then it will be a whole other ball game, and we will try to make it as private as you wish, and so on. So that, as Mike says, but it's important to know that in the beta test, it's pretty open, and everybody involved will be trying to learn from the session that is happening. So.
Yeah, and I know myself in the beta test, sometimes whether it goes well or whether there's a mistake along the way, I'm kind of currently thinking, I hope they're actually able to see this because I wanted to get better,
Yeah, but if you have one that we should look at, feel free to send us a note, and we will look into it. Absolutely.
Great stuff. It's really exciting, guys. I people have been throwing around the word game changer, and I really think this technology, it's become cliched, but it really is. It has incredible applications. I think this feature, when people get their hands on it, there's just so many applications that you just get so much accuracy and so much more context and the conversational factor. So really exciting. Is there anything else you guys want to say before we wrap up? Or
well, we want to thank you, David, for being a part of the beta test program and continuing to give us feedback. Number one, the only other thing I would like to say before turning it over to Hans is, the mission of Be My Eyes is to make the world more accessible for the 250 plus million people who are blind and low vision globally. And we take that responsibility incredibly seriously. And so the commitment that we'll give to the community is not only that we're going to try to do this for free and we're going to try to do this responsibly, but we're going to work every day to kind of make these tools kind of more powerful for people and help our community, make the choices that they want to make to better kind of navigate their world and environment.
We have touched on it a little bit, but I still think it's pretty amazing that maybe not the very first time, but this is very rare that the blind community is in the absolute front of what is happening and what is on everybody's mind. And this is also very, we have to do it right, and we have to do it carefully, but we are also very, very proud that we are part of this, and we can bring hopefully the whole blind community in on this journey, and it's looking really promising. And one of the things that I really hope that this will turn into is a whole new way of using your computer, where you can simply talk to your computer and maybe make your smart speaker into a computer, and pretty much do everything just by talking to it. Because what has surprised me is how well it understands. I'm not even an English native speaker, and it understands me perfectly. And even if I spell wrong, which I do very often, unless it's really wrong, but it understands what I mean, even if I don't say it correctly and all that. And so it has so much potential. And also, my version is answering me in Danish, which is also, and I can ask in English and it will answer me in Danish, and the other way around, and that's also pretty amazing and super important when you have 185 different languages. And if it can do it in Danish, then it can do it in most of our languages, which is also something I think it's pretty amazing from day one. If we can make this work in so many different languages, then we can really help the global community with a technology that is absolutely second to none. So that's very exciting.
And you even put in mind for me where calls maybe haven't worked for people but who are deafblind, but they use a braille, because it's text entry, potentially then it opens up Be My Eyes a little bit more to that community as well.
That's right. Yeah, interesting.
That's great. I think that's a great place to end. So I just want to say thank you very much, Mike and Hans, again for joining me today on the AppleVis Extra.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Hans and Mike for joining me today. And thank you for listening. I'll talk to you in the next one.
This AppleVis podcast has been brought to you by the community of AppleVis.com. For the latest in resources and tips and tricks to get you the best experience from your Apple device, visit www.applevis.com.